The follow-up was released in November of 1992 to much anticipation and the introduction of a new sidekick, a two-tailed fox called Miles Tells Prower, otherwise known as Tails.
Graphically, the game doesn't look that different from its predecessor the year before, and I suppose you have to have a real trained eye to spot any notable difference.
The main difference that I did enjoy was that the pacing was much faster and the soundtrack was just amazing. You hear the Emerald Hill Zone theme for the first time and it really helps the gaming experience, and a wonderful tropical coastline theme, which was so suiting.
The introduction of Sonic Spin Dash is unbelievably helpful, as this really helps to gain momentum required when you have to go either uphill or go through a row of badniks along the ground.
The formula is the same as Sonic 1. You get from start to finish, freeing the captives from the badniks as you go along, defeat Robotnik in the last act of the zone, and then you move on to the next.
Main difference to the zones now is that there are only 2 acts, with the exceptions being Metropolis Zone having 3, Sky Chase Zone, Flying Fortress, and the final zone, Death Egg, having 1 each. There are 10 zones compared to the 6 from Sonic 1, ranging from the coastal paradise of Emerald Hill, the bright lights of Casino Night Zone, the slips of Oil Ocean, and to the cold feel of the Death Egg. Each zone has visuals that really help emphasize the theme of said zone. So for example, Casino Night Zone has lights that you'd expect in a city at night that has casinos. Stands to reason, I mean, it says so in the name. Mystic Cave has the look of something dark, creepy, and almost claustrophobic.
Also, there are star posts littered throughout each act in this game that serve a rather useful purpose other than marking your position should you lose a life. If 50 rings happen to be in your collection, then you get to journey to the special zone where you undergo challenges of getting a set required amount of rings in order to win a Chaos Emerald.
The special zone is like a rollerball alley in this when compared to the floating maze from Sonic 1.
And should you be lucky enough to get all 7 Chaos Emeralds with 50 rings, you can transform Sonic into Super Sonic, where his spikes go up, his skin turns yellow, and it's implied that he can fly, when it's really just him hovering slightly above the ground for elevated speed, and he has a built-in invincibility shield, but he is not above drowning, because if you stay underwater too long, he will drown, and if he falls down a black hole, need I say more? I am well aware of the comparisons made with Super Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z, but I'm not going to get into that here because this is not the time nor the place to do so.
Speaking of a lack of abilities, Tails is able to fly and rejoin you if he goes off screen, but the second player is not able to make use of his natural ability until Sonic 3 as well. As to why this was never addressed and placed into the game rather than wait 2 years for the sequel is a mystery.
The introduction of 2-player is something you can have hours of fun with friends and family, except for that one guy who's always hitting the teleport box right before you reach the end of the level and you end up losing as a result. We all have that one friend who does that. You know who you are. We know.
As a follow-up, I'd say Sonic 2 is a far easier game than the debut, but for a good reason, as this allows the player to enjoy the experience more with a much more fluid pacing and continuing the momentum that the first one had established.